November 1942. The desert war grinds on beneath a merciless sun. The war ended, the wisdom drove on, simplicity won forever. Missing narration for Scene 3. Missing narration for Scene 4. Missing narration for Scene 5. Missing narration for Scene 6. Missing narration for Scene 7. Missing narration for Scene 8. Missing narration for Scene 9. Missing narration for Scene 10. Missing narration for Scene 11. Missing narration for Scene 12. Missing narration for Scene 13. Missing narration for Scene 14. Missing narration for Scene 15. Missing narration for Scene 16. Missing narration for Scene 17. Missing narration for Scene 18. Missing narration for Scene 19. Missing narration for Scene 20. Missing narration for Scene 21. Missing narration for Scene 22. Missing narration for Scene 23. Missing narration for Scene 24. Missing narration for Scene 25. Missing narration for Scene 26. Missing narration for Scene 27. Missing narration for Scene 28. Missing narration for Scene 29. Missing narration for Scene 30. Missing narration for Scene 31. Missing narration for Scene 32. Missing narration for Scene 33. Missing narration for Scene 34. Missing narration for Scene 35. Missing narration for Scene 36. Missing narration for Scene 37. Missing narration for Scene 38. Missing narration for scene 39. Missing narration for scene 40. Missing narration for scene 41. Missing narration for scene 42. Missing narration for scene 43. Missing narration for scene 44. Missing narration for scene 45. Missing narration for scene 46. Missing narration for scene 47. Missing narration for scene 48. Missing narration for scene 49. Missing narration for scene 50. Missing narration for scene 51. Missing narration for scene 52. Missing narration for scene 53. Missing narration for scene 54. Missing narration for scene 55. Missing narration for scene 56. Missing narration for scene 57. Missing narration for scene 58. Missing narration for scene 59. Missing narration for scene 60. Missing narration for scene 61. Missing narration for scene 62. Missing narration for scene 63. Missing narration for scene 64. Missing narration for scene 65. Missing narration for scene 66. Missing narration for scene 67. Missing narration for scene 68. Missing narration for scene 69. Missing narration for scene 70. Missing narration for scene 71. Missing narration for scene 72. Missing narration for scene 73. Missing narration for scene 74. Missing narration for scene 75. Missing narration for scene 76. Missing narration for scene 77. Missing narration for scene 78. Missing narration for scene 79. Missing narration for scene 80. Missing narration for scene 81. Missing narration for scene 82. Missing narration for scene 83. Missing narration for scene 84. Missing narration for scene 85. Missing narration for scene 86. Missing narration for scene 87. Missing narration for scene 88. Missing narration for scene 89. Missing narration for scene 90. Missing narration for scene 91. Missing narration for scene 92. Missing narration for scene 93. Missing narration for scene 94. Missing narration for scene 95. Missing narration for scene 96. Missing narration for scene 97. Missing narration for scene 98. Missing narration for scene 99. Missing narration for scene 100.